Okay, let's look at these questions from your test in term 3, these multiple choice chemistry questions. Okay, the first thing you have to do with multiple choice is read the question very carefully. The second thing you have to do is try and figure out the answer by yourself before you start, and also discard any obviously wrong answers right at the beginning. So this first question says, which group of atoms or ions has the same amount of electrons? So now to figure out the same amount of electrons, we are going to have to use our periodic table, and we know that in an atom, electrons are equal to the number of protons, okay? So we want something that is either an atom or an ion. Obviously, no atom can have the same amount of electrons as another atom, because that's just not how it works, because that's how the periodic table is. And so then it would have to be an atom and an ion having the same amount of electrons. So the first obviously wrong answer to get rid of over here is chlorine, bromine, and iodine. Why is this one so obviously wrong? Well, if you go to your periodic table and you have a look on your periodic table, where is chlorine, bromine, and iodine? They're right over here. Iodine's got 53, bromine's got 35, chlorine's got 17 electrons, because remember, electrons equals protons, which equals atomic number. So that one is clearly out. Okay, then we've got bromine ion, krypton, which is a noble gas, and a potassium ion. So let's go back. This looks promising. Let's go see if we can do it. So it says to you the bromine ion, okay, so Br minus, this is 35 plus an electron is going to give me 36, which takes me to krypton. So these two are the same. But then it said to you, what about the potassium ion? Now the potassium ion, sorry, that was krypton. The potassium ion is K plus. So K plus has lost an electron, but it only had 19 to start with. So if you've got 19 electrons and you lose one, you've only got 18. So krypton ends up being argon. It has the same atomic structure as argon. So that one's out. We need to get rid of it. Okay. Then it says to you, what about magnesium, calcium, and beryllium? And now these are all ions. Okay. So we go back to our periodic table, and it says beryllium, magnesium, and calcium. Oh dear. If beryllium loses 2 electrons, it's still got 2 electrons. If magnesium loses 2 electrons, it's got 10 electrons. And if calcium loses 2 electrons, it's got 18 electrons. So that one is also very clearly wrong. Okay. So that leaves us with this other answer here, sodium, magnesium, and aluminium. Now if you look here, sodium's lost 1 electron, magnesium's lost 2, and aluminium's got 3. So if we go look on our periodic table, where are sodium, magnesium, and aluminium? And here is sodium, here is magnesium, and here is aluminium, 11, 12, 13. So if aluminium loses 3 electrons, it's got 10. If magnesium loses 2 electrons, it's got 10. And if sodium loses 1 electron, it's got 10 electrons. So it must be sodium, magnesium, and aluminium. So that is now the correct answer. So here the answer is C. Now it says to you, which one of the following electron configurations represents an ion of an alkali metal? Now first of all, if you see metals, all metals form cations, okay? So they are going to lose electrons. And then what is an alkali metal? An alkali metal is that first column in your periodic table. So if you go and look at your first column in the periodic table over here, okay, let's go back to this. And then we're going to just clear this up here. And if we have a look here, where are the alkali metals? The alkali metals are these guys over here. Okay. So lithium is 3. So lithium is 1s2, 2s1. Sodium is 11. So it's 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. And then potassium is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1. So all of these guys, to become an ion, are going to lose this one electron. Okay, so they have got a full outer shell. Can you see here? Sodium's got the full 2 shell and potassium's got the full 3 shell. Okay, 8 electrons, what we call the octet. But lithium has only got the 1s shell left, which is only 2, because you know the first shell can only accommodate 2 electrons. So let's go back, and so you try and answer the question before you look at the answers. Okay, so which one is an ion of an alkali metal? It's got to be A. Okay, because can you see here, this is not a full shell. 2s2, we're not a full shell. 2s2, 2p5, that's 7 electrons. This is not a full shell either. This is not happy. And this one here is an actual alkali metal. Okay, but this one is not an ion, because an ion has lost or gained electrons. And if you are an ion of a metal, you will have lost electrons. So this, to become an ion, would lose that. So the answer here is A. Now it says, in the compound H2O, the ratio of the mass, and see here, mass is the key word, of hydrogen to oxygen. Well, we know, what does your chemical formula tell you? The chemical formula water is for H2O. That always means 2 hydrogen atoms combine with 1 oxygen atom. That's how we know it's H2O and it's water. But it says to you the ratio of the mass of hydrogen to oxygen. So if you've got 2 hydrogen atoms, if you go back to your periodic table, okay, how much does a hydrogen atom weigh? A hydrogen atom weighs 1. So we go back here and we say 2 hydrogens is 1 plus 1 is 2. And we've got 1 oxygen atom. How much does 1 oxygen atom weigh? We go back to our periodic table over here and we look for oxygen. And now we are interested in oxygen's mass number. And remember, the mass is on the bottom. So oxygen's mass is 16. It's got 8 protons, 8 neutrons. It weighs 16. So the ratio here is 2 is to 16. But we must simplify this ratio, so it's 1 is to 8. To work out the answer for yourself, do not just go and look at the questions and try and make it fit the answer. Work out the answer for yourself. So this one is C. Now it says the diagram below shows a beaker of ice placed over an open flame. Which one of the following statements incorrectly describes what happens to the molecules in the ice as the temperature of the ice increases? Well, if we know our definitions, we know that temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles. So if the temperature increases, the average kinetic energy of the particles is going to increase. So this one, the particles move faster. This is true. The particles move further apart. This is true, because when they've got more energy, they overcome the intermolecular forces and move further apart. The molecules vibrate slower. This is false, because temperature is a measure of average kinetic energy and the temperature is increasing. And the forces between the molecules are getting weaker. That is true, because that is how come they can move further apart in B. So the only wrong one here is C, and so the answer there is C.